Hi, I'm Annie Strack. My project today is to take a watercolor triptych and mount it on gallery artboards. This is a deep cradled artboard. This is the paintable surface, which I'm going to mount my paper on, my painting on. And then this is the side. This is a birch finish, and I've gone ahead and varnished a nice dark ebony color and varnished it. So this is ready to go now. It's all been ready and primed. And this is the painting I'm going to mount on it. As you can see, it's just a watercolor on paper. And the effect, when it gets mounted, is going to be much like an oil painting or an acrylic painting, in that it can be hung without glass, without mats, not even a frame. So let's get started. I'm going to start by brushing my surface with some acrylic gel medium. It doesn't matter if you use gloss medium or matte medium, but I find that the gel works the best because it's nice and thick. You can see how thick this is. I want to cover the entire surface fairly thick. I don't want to leave any spots that aren't covered. And I want to make sure I get the edges very well. I don't want to slop it over the sides because the sides are already varnished and stained, but I do want to make sure I have no pockets where I don't have any of this gel. This is the binder. This will be like the glue that's holding the watercolor painting onto this board. I'm using the gel medium, the acrylic gel medium, because it is archival. It's going to bind well, and it's going to age well. It's not going to hurt the paper or hurt the painting. Alright, now I've got it pretty much covered. I'm just going to smooth out to make it even. I don't want to have gobs, high spots anywhere, or low spots. I want to make sure it's nice and even. And again, make sure I get all these edges. And wipe my hands off well so I don't get any of it on my painting. Now I'm going to take my watercolor painting, which is on the paper, and I'm going to carefully line up the corners and lay it on. I want to make sure I get it nice and square, which it looks like I have. Next, I'm going to use a very simple tool here. This is an ink brayer. And I'm going to use this to press my painting and make a good contact. I'm going to start in the center and lightly roll out toward the edges. The idea is to make sure my paper is making really good contact with the acrylic medium so it binds and seals very well. I don't want to have any air bubbles or pockets that aren't going to bind. And make sure if you use an ink brayer for this, make sure you use a clean ink brayer. You don't want to get any ink on your painting. As I'm going, I am squeezing a little bit too hard here, so I'm going to wipe these edges clean so I don't get that medium spread across the top. One more pass around the edges and that ought to do it. That's it. This is ready to go. Next, I want to just turn this over upside down and let it dry overnight on a flat surface. This just gives it a nice even pressure so that it binds well and it's going to adhere well. And we'll just let that dry overnight. After the painting's dried overnight and it's well mounted now, it's completely dry, I can take a razor knife and trim off this little bit of the overlap. The cradled artboard is 18 by 24 and the paper is 18 by 24, but the paper is just maybe a quarter of an inch larger than the artboard, which is good. It's better than being too small. So you can see I've got a little bit of a lip there. Hear that? Catch my finger on it? That's the paper overlapping that. So I want to trim that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down and with an X-Acto knife very carefully trim down the edges. You can see some of it pulling off right here. Nope, you can't. I'm going to very carefully trim down this edge and trim off the excess pieces that overlap the edges. When that's done, the last thing to do is varnish it. And what I'm going to do is use several coats of a spray archival clear non-yellowing varnish. I don't want to use a brush-on varnish because this is watercolor. If I brush it on, I'm going to move the paint around. So at least the first couple of coats have to be a spray varnish. Then you can brush on whatever kind of varnish you like. And when it's all done, this is the finished triptych. All ready to go, ready to hang. Does not require frame, mat, or glass. The cradled artboards give it a really nice finish. I hope you enjoy today's triptych, the way I mounted it on boards. It gives a really, really nice way to do a watercolor in a triptych without having distracting mats in between each painting. See you next time. Bye-bye.